weather? I guess at the surface, nothing. We're not in the Carolinas, and that's not weather. But weather impacts everything, including the logistics of transportation. And the construction of this is a feat of engineering. Now maybe, just maybe, technology can do something about those brakes. They'll start to rain. That's weather.
Jim and Tim's Rail Fanning Adventure coming your way Wednesday, August 2nd. We're also going to be checking out some brand new weather-related games. While we also take this
911, what's your emergency?
Help! I'm lost! Can't leave! Help! I'm terrified!
Seems like a storm-related call. And join me back at the Shield Museum in Gastonia, North Carolina on Saturday, July 15th for their annual weatherproof event. Come out, try your hand at green screen weathercasting. We'd love to see you there. If you're not familiar with weatherproof, let's take you to last year's event so you can see what it's all about, and we'll see you out this year on July 15th.
Hey everybody, Jared here with the Carolina Weather Group. I got Dan Whitaker with me, our storm chaser guru guy. And Dan, we have, we're here at Weatherproof at the Shield Museum in Gastonia. A really great day with a lot of great exhibitors.
Yeah, it's been a really fun time. We have seen a lot of different exhibitors here, talking about all sorts of different aspects of weather, including things we don't normally think of, like air quality.
Air quality, you have the National Weather Service here. You have the Climate Office showing us some, interesting and somewhat disturbing heat trends. Honestly, WCNC has been here with the Brad Panovich and Larry Sprinkle. We're here for a bit, a lot of fun. Just a really great day. And so we've got some interviews with these exhibitors, and we hope you enjoy.
We're here with Charlotte Area NC Air Awareness. And could you tell us a little bit about kind of your setup here today?
Yes. Hi, my name is Yvonne Hernandez, and like you mentioned, I am with the Charlotte Area Air Awareness, and what I'm here to do is teach about air quality and what we can do to protect our health, and what can we do to improve air quality in our region.
Great. So I see you have a couple things here. You have some a sign here about ozone. And a couple of other things. Can you tell us, I guess, first about this this graph you have here, this chart?
Yeah, so this chart, what we're doing here is trying to make that connection of emission sources that are in the Charlotte, Mecklenburg County, and make that correlation, because people normally think that the primary polluter is factories, point sources, so these, right? But actually, they only account for 3% of the county's NOx, ozone-forming NOx emissions. And then the number one is actually cars. So normally people would flip those. The reality is we're the number one polluters. It's us, it's cars, we have to own it. And then the second one is non-road mobile sources. If you're driving around in Mecklenburg County, you'll notice that there is so much construction going on. There is construction on the roads, on the highways, and the skyscrapers. And finally, the last thing will be area sources. So those are things like the emergency generators, like at hospitals or cell phone towers. So I just want to make that connection for people that we're the number one polluters. It's us, it's cars, and we have to own it. And then what can we do about it?
Okay, great explanation there. Thanks for sharing that. What other, besides ozone, what other kind of air pollutants are we looking at are important to kind of know about?
Yeah, so the Environmental Protection Agency has 6 common air pollutants, but in Mecklenburg County and in the region, we really focus on 2, the ones that are driving that are the highest, the ones that we see, which is particulate matter and ozone. So, just to give you a little bit more background information, ozone is not emitted. It's actually formed, and it is a photochemical reaction that happens when VOCs and NOx are cooked under the sun. So ozone season is from March 1st to October 31st. And during that time, we see that, the sun is out for the longest, and we really need that sun in order to for it to cook and create ozone. And then particulate matter, we'll normally see that during fireworks or burns. The last code red that we had in Mecklenburg County was in 2016 when there was a giant fire in the mountains and the wind shifted just right and it made it to the county. So those would be the two main ones that I will discuss and teach about, because the other ones, even though they're there, you think about lead as a success story where we don't really have to worry about lead too much because it's been phased out.
We're talking about weather at a lot of the booths, and everyone here is kind of interested in weather. What kind of connections to weather do you see these pollutants?
So that is such a great question, because that is exactly why I'm here, is because air quality has a direct connection to the weather. So weather heavily impacts what's going to happen. If just last week we had a situation where mercaptan was released in the city and there was a temperature inversion. So it was just trapped and we could all smell it, right? And again, so weather it impacted, because if there would have been another day, it probably would have, people would have smelled it, but it wouldn't just been trapped. And so there is a direct correlation in those in the forecast for weather or what weather is doing, and then air quality and the impact that it has, because weather will be moving and dispersing air.
You mentioned a connection of how ozone is formed having to do with the sun. Does that have weather has a big impact on that, I guess, too, because of clouds forming and whatnot?
Exactly. Yes. So if it's going to be raining, normally we can expect the air quality to be pretty good. Or if it's cloudy and overcast, even if it is 100 degrees outside, it's not going to impact it so much.
Well, I'm glad you're here educating us about things that are very important, but things we also can't see. And that's why it takes people like you in science to uncover that.
Yeah, thank you for this opportunity to talk about it, because that is the hardest thing about my job, is how do I teach about something that you can't see? And how do I make you care about something that you can't see that we just take for granted? We wake up early in the morning, we get going, and we're already breathing. So we're not even thinking about the fact that we're breathing air, and that how important it can be to our health. I think I mentioned this earlier, but you can live without water, you can live without food, you can live without air. So again, you can live without water and food for a few days, but air is just minutes.
Well, thank you so much for talking with us, and I'm sure everyone who's watched this will learn a lot. So
thanks, Dan. I appreciate the opportunity.
Hey everybody, Jared here from the Carolina Weather Group. Today I've got Emma Scott with me from the North Carolina State University Climate Extension up in Asheville. Came all the way down to Gastonia, Charlotte area to be here at the Shield Museum this afternoon. How are you doing?
I'm doing great.
Awesome. Tell us a little bit about what you do in your nook of Asheville.
Yeah. So we do climate-specific research, and we partner with a lot of federal scientists at the National Centers for Environmental Information, and we work together to analyze the climate data that goes into the NCEI data centers.
Awesome. Very cool. Tell us a little bit about what you're kind of showing everybody, showing the kids today, and the kids and the adults for that matter. There's a lot of everyone's enjoying it today.
Yeah, a lot of people from all walks of life here. So we've got some takeaways from the National Climate Assessment, as well as the North Carolina Specific Climate Science Report that has been published fairly recently. And this has some information on expected changes in climate that we can expect to see in our state, and a little bit toward how we can find solutions to these issues.
Yeah, I'm sure that you're covering a broad scope between flooding on the coast and then just general warming and other issues, and perhaps severe weather and things of that nature.
Exactly. All kinds of things, from extreme heat to changes in extreme precipitation, overall global temperature change. It's all kind of in there. Yeah.
What would you say is probably the biggest takeaway that you all have seen recently, just in your data? What's the thing that stands out the most?
So one of the things that I know is really important to people at the moment is heat and drought. We have some scientists looking at intersections between those two, and the increase in nighttime temperatures is one of the things that we have laid out in some of the information here, and that's definitely really concerning for the future in terms of heat-related illness.
Yeah, everybody thinks about record highs, but nobody thinks about the record low maximums.
Yeah,
the other
exactly.
way around, the record maximum low. I mean, I always get that confused. But I mean, that is certainly the bit of heat stress that just does not get as much attention. It probably should.
Yeah, I mean, if it's not cooling off overnight, you don't get that chance to recuperate, and that can be really impactful for people, especially who can't afford to have an air conditioner.
Right.
That can really hurt them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Emma. Very nice to meet you, and hope you enjoy the rest of your time.
All right, thank you.
Hey everybody, Jared here from the Carolina Weather Group at the Shield Museum for Weatherproof, closing out the event today, and we got Candace Jordan here with us. She is kind of the maestro of the whole shebang.
I'm like the weather maestro.
The weather
I like
maestro,
that.
the weather maestro, the person with the flame tornado. Yes. How did you think it went this year?
It was phenomenal.
Yeah.
It was a great weather day. First off,
Mm-hmm.
it didn't have to pull the meteorologist out of the event. That's
Right.
always nice.
Yeah.
But overall, it seemed like we had a really good turnout, and it was just a wonderful day. I think people were really curious and asked lots of really great questions.
Yeah, you had a really good crowd around the flame, the fire whirl, to be clear.
Yes.
And the tornado tube, and there's a lot of just really great exhibits here, a lot of really great exhibitors here as well today. Coming back, from COVID.
Yes.
This is the first one since COVID, as I recall.
Yeah, so this is the first real big one. We had one last year, but we definitely kept it super low key.
Yeah.
It was just a few staff members. So this is the first big one we've pulled out since COVID.
Yeah, no, and it certainly seemed to be, very well attended. We had some amazing people. We had one of the kids school Dan on the EF rating of the Pilger tornado. We had we had some amazing green screen work going on here. National Weather Service was here,
right.
14th Air Squadron. What do you hope people take away from this?
So one thing that I love to bring to people is, there's more than just your standard meteorologist. A lot of people think TV meteorologists, and yes, they are absolutely wonderful, and there's a place for them. But there's also 90% of the meteorology community that's not on TV, and I want people to be able to see those. The National Weather Service, having the Air Force represented. Your climate people, your area, your air awareness people.
Your air quality,
so lots of different types of people, and I really wanted to show the multifaceted thing of weather is that. We had a booth on leaves and weather and insects and weather, satellites. So it's just weather really does impact every single discipline that there is out there.
Absolutely. I want to say that there was weather on other planets even running at some point. Yeah.
Yeah. So even other planets have weather, and then we have a planetarium show about that. Yep. And so we can go through each planet and say, we have these monstrosity dust storms on Mars and envelop the entire planet. We don't have that on Earth. Or the Great Red Spot on Jupiter.
Not yet.
TBD.
TBD. Well, hopefully we don't find out. But no, I mean, this is this is phenomenal. Certainly seemed like everybody got a lot out of it.
Yeah.
And, it was really fantastic. Any closing thoughts
overall
on the event?
I'm really proud of how it went, and we're definitely doing it again next year.
Beautiful.
So mark your calendars, July something or another, probably
July
next
something
year.
or another. All right.
23.
Mark it down. July something or another here at the Shield Museum in Gastonia, North Carolina. Got Chief Meteorologist Brad Panovich from WCNC. We're going to go take a little tour of the Storm Tracker.
Yeah, so this is our Storm Tracker around here. It's the Chevy Storm Tracker. You can see it behind me here. Now, there's a lot of cool stuff on it, but I'll show you what actually works and what we use it for. The cool thing about most of the Storm Tracker vehicles nowadays is that we actually do use these to chase storms. I mean, this is not just some marketing tool. The key part here is, and we'll come over to the side here, I think is going to be the cameras. The cameras are the key part here because that's what we want to see when we're tracking storms. So up on the roof, and I don't know if you can get that, Dan, but that's our camera that we actually have a remote control for. So that's on a little gimbal up there, and it's got some lights on it. We can actually steer that any direction that we want. So it's basically gives us the ability to look wherever we want. And then inside the car, I'll get out of the way here so you can see, you'll see that we have two cameras, one mounted on the dashboard there and one that faces back towards the passenger seat. So the goal of having those cameras, one's going to obviously see what's heading outside, but the other one is to shoot the person in the car so we can do some kind of play-by-play. And then you may not see this. We'll walk around the other side because I think this will help you guys at home kind of see this. We actually have some monitors in here so we can see what's being broadcast. So one of the things that we try to do is when we're on TV is you'll see right there it says preview and on air. So whoever's sitting in the passenger seat can see what's on TV right now or streaming and what the camera sees. And then we have an iPad. And this is the cool thing. The iPad is actually a remote switcher. It allows us to switch between the different sources that we send back to the station. And so, how do we send it back to the station? Well, I'll open this here. We've got a little rack right there, and we've got what's called a TVU unit. And for those that don't know what that is, think of this as like your OBS XSplit streaming system. Instead of just streaming to the web, this allows us via IP to send back a live signal to the station, which is great because, back in the days when we had our early storm chasers, you had to have some kind of microwave or satellite dish. And now we don't have to have that big contraption sticking out the top, which makes us much more mobile for chasing storms.
Absolutely, and you can take advantage of cell networks. You can take advantage of all the infrastructure that's been built out. And I remember seeing this giant microwave, the storm center truck parked on the side of the road. You hope for the best.
I'll tell you that one of the first storm trackers that we had was we didn't really broadcast from. We just chased. We'd stop, shoot video, and try to feed it back. And then the next progression was a mast truck that you didn't have to raise the mast all the way. You could do what was called a mast down shot, but you had to be within so many miles of the receiver site so that the dish could hit it. So that really limited where you could chase. Now your only limitations are the cell networks. And, for a lot of folks, you probably run into cell holes. But one of the things about these TVU units that's different than your cell phone is that we're able to hit multiple cell networks. So we're not just hitting AT&T, we're hitting AT&T, Verizon, T-Mobile, really any service we can. And the band is split up between all of those services. So even if we have one bar from one, two from the other, we can get an HD signal because we're sending it to all of the networks, not just one.
That's fantastic. Yeah, I mean, you have best coverage you could ever get, I suppose.
Yeah, and one more thing I will point out, this little mast thing here, that's actually a weather station.
Oh, cool.
So that's an ultrasonic anemometer, and one of the cool things, so you're wondering, if you're parked, you're obviously going to get wind speed, but one of the things we can do while we're driving is because this is tied into the GPS, we can take the wind speed while we're driving because this will subtract the forward motion of the vehicle and give us a wind speed, which is, if you're driving at 70 miles an hour, obviously you would have a 70 mile an hour wind, right?
Right.
Well, if we're driving and we pick up 100 mile an hour wind, this will subtract the 70 miles that we're driving per hour and give us that 30 mile per hour wind. So that's a really cool feature. We don't honestly use that enough, but that was one of the things that I wanted on this because as you're driving, you want to be able to collect data, not just when you're standing still.
Absolutely right. What is the coolest storm y'all have intercepted in this thing?
Oh, man. I would well, it's a funny story. There was actually a non-meteorologist in the truck. We had a reporter, because this happens. You don't always have a meteorologist, so you send a reporter out. And I was live on the air covering a tornado near Hickory. And Mark Boyle, who's now at WRAL up in Raleigh, was on the storm tracker. And I'm like, Mark, where are you? So I'm talking back to my air. We're one exit up from, I think it was Newton or something. And I'm like, which direction are you heading? West. And I'm looking at the radar. They're heading right for the bounded weak echo region of the supercell. And I'm like, pull off the road and get to shelter right now. They just didn't know where they were going. They were driving right into the heart of this storm. So that was a memorable one. And then we had one storm where we briefly caught a funnel cloud. But as you guys know, chasing here in the Carolinas, trees got in the way immediately and we lost visibility. And that is probably the biggest dilemma for chasing around here is this is a great platform and a great tool, but you're limited to visibility, trees and hills that really block a lot of your views.
Right. But you can still get some good data. Yeah. And any of those things, even beyond, the tornadoes that you would see. I mean, the wind reports, hail, things like that. all make a difference.
What happens more than often than not is we end up becoming roving traffic reporters because we have that dashboard camera and we're driving in interstate traffic. We give people a good idea what's out there. And sometimes one look at that camera tells you, I'm not going to go outside because the road's horrible, it's packed up. So you end up seeing people stay at home. So we do a lot of road conditions, especially during winter weather and then flooding. It is 4-wheel drive, so we can take it to the mountains and get through the snow. It's a nice platform overall. I really do enjoy chasing some storms. In fact, I'm hoping me personally as the chief can go out and do more live reporting during severe weather. I'm often stuck in the studio. But because of the technology, I can do everything we can in the studio in this truck.
That's amazing.
I mean, I can operate our radar. I can go play by play, but then be out in the field because I want to show people at home what's happening. And as you guys know, spotter and real-time information is way more important than just a radar image. People are going to listen to real images and video much more than a radar picture.
I believe radar has been referred to as just a splotch of paint behind the guy on TV.
It works for a while, but at some point, people can't relate to it at home. If you're not a weather geek or a meteorologist, it just looks like bright colors, like you said, spilled paint on a map. So when you can show people what it actually looks like, people are more likely going to seek shelter.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Brad, thank you so much for the tour. Good to see you. And friends, stay subscribed to the Carolina Weather Group here on YouTube or wherever you might be listening or watching this. And we'll see you all again real soon. Hey everybody, Jared here with the Carolina Weather Group here at the Shield Museum at Weatherproof, talking with Clay Chaney from the National Weather Service in Greenville, Spartanburg. GSP,
hey.
How's it going?
Pretty good out here. It's a pretty wonderful day to talk about weather.
Yeah.
No, it's my favorite topic, so I'm always down to let people know what we do and how to kind of look at the weather and what to look for and just talk about the process of forecasting and the products that we put out.
No, that's fantastic. I see that you've got a lot of different, you got some really cool exhibits here. You got the radio saw. Now, y'all are not an upper air office. So.
We're not, but I figured it was a pretty cool instrument to
Absolutely.
show.
Yeah.
You know, kids love the balloons, so they're going to be curious about it.
Oh, yeah.
So it gives me a chance to kind of explain how the instrument works and whatnot. So
Absolutely. I wish you were an upper air office. We could use the data.
Same.
But you've got, you're talking about inland tropical cyclone flooding, which I think is, something that's really, become really top of mind in the last few years.
Definitely.
Tell us a little bit about how GSP has been helping the community get ready for those kinds of events.
Yeah, so we actually have a few presentations that we're wanting to get out, like kind of similar to a storm spotter talk, but kind of related to the inland impacts from tropical cyclones. So that's one thing we're actually working on now. This thing gives, or this kind of piece of paper gives us a pretty good insight of what we know in terms of the actual impacts that happens when tropical cyclones make it our way. We also want to get people aware of the flooding. I mean, you got the case from Tropical Storm Fred that devastated Haywood County.
Oh, yes.
Also the numerous tornado warnings that happened.
Oh, yes.
I actually have a funny story about that, but that was my first ever radar event where I was issuing tornado warnings.
Oh, wow.
That's a great one to get thrown into.
Taking the hot seat and then putting another couple embers underneath
Exactly.
it. Oh, goodness.
So I think after Tropical Storm Fred, though, we definitely started putting more emphasis on, like, hey, you don't need to just worry about, whether it's a Category 1 hurricane or higher, or if it's just a tropical storm or depression or even a remnant low. Pretty much where we're at in terms of being inland from the coastline, we still get the same impacts almost as if it was between, just a remnant low or maybe even a Category 1 hurricane.
Right. And again, when you talk about a Category 1 hurricane, that Category 1 hurricane is actually in a very tiny part of the storm.
Exactly.
All things considered. There's a lot of people are like, oh, I wrote out a Category 1. Are you sure? I don't think you did.
How close to the eye were you?
Exactly, yeah. And so, it's like, did you write it out? Where is your Kestrel?
Exactly.
No, that's fantastic. And so I see you've got, some other, information about Kokoros here that's been very helpful when dealing with flooding.
Yeah, I've been trying to get a few people to, recruit them for Kokoros or even the co-op program, just to help with the local observations, just to try and get more people involved in that and giving us the data we need on a regular basis for the different, storm total amounts. So we definitely appreciate anyone that tries to get involved in those programs.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Big Kokoros fans here.
Yeah, same here.
I've got my gauge. It was too early for me to empty it this morning. I know that I had about 2 inches plus.
Oh, wow.
It's been that kind of July down in Charleston, let me tell you.
Yeah, I bet.
We've been getting just soaked after soaked after soaked.
I don't doubt it. I've noticed.
Yeah, I bet you have. And so you got a couple experiments over here, too. So this one looks kind of shocking.
Yeah, so that's the Venn diagram there. And, of course, if you want to give an example, we can.
Yeah,
Here, I'll spin this if you want to put that close to the ball there.
Yeah.
Get us a little shot going. Get a little closer. There we go.
There you go.
Got our shock right there.
Yeah.
That's the closest you want to be to a lightning strike. So.
Yeah. When little Papa roars, go indoors.
Yes, please. I had the stickers for that, but I guess everybody got the message.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. And then you've got the good old tornado tube.
Yeah.
This is one of my favorite things as a kid.
Now, this thing right here, this is perfect if you want to form any kind of vortex. Mm-hmm. I mean, here we go right here, spinning this thing. That sucker's going to get going, and there we go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty.
No, this one works really well. If I'm ever going to make a tornado bottle, this is exactly how I'm going to do it.
And not with fire.
Exactly. Yeah. Not with fire. I'm not that dangerous.
That's fantastic. Really, really cool. Really, really cool. And I saw that you had some Skywarn stickers, but
yeah, they've all been taken.
Yeah, those are popular.
They are. Honestly, I thought about grabbing more, but I was like, maybe not. But now I know for next time, I can grab a couple of those.
Yeah, I might have to swing by and see if Trisha can swap me one. I lost mine 3 cars ago.
Exactly.
But Clay, wonderful to see you out here. Thank you for all the work that you do.
Most definitely, I appreciate that.
National Weather Service there. If you're ever on social media, Clay is the social media guru for GSP, and so it's his fault.
It's my fault. We post all the wrong things. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
You're right at least 50% of the time.
Just flip a coin.
Exactly. Clay, thank you so much for joining us in the Carolina Weather Group. This is, this is phenomenal. Certainly seemed like everybody got a lot out of it.
Yeah.
And, it was really fantastic. Any closing thoughts
overall
on the event?
I'm really proud of how it went, and we're definitely doing it again next year.
Beautiful.
So mark your calendars, July something or another, probably
July
next
something
year.
or another. All right.
23.
Mark it down. July something or another here at the Shield Museum in Gastonia, North Carolina. Jared Smith, Carolina Weather Group. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you to Candace and all of her wonderful crew for making today a wonderful event.